Do you think that the mark of the beast would be introduced while Christians are still around or after the rapture?
100%. The mark of the beast is implemented in the middle of the tribulation. So, however, the technology and the other policies certainly could be in place. Now, I'm not saying either that we won't be required to have a digital ID, but all those things in place are not the mark. The mark, I think the church will be raptured prior to the tribulation, 3.5 years of consolidation by the Antichrist during the first 3.5 years. And then he receives unlimited authority and power in the middle point of the tribulation. We see that in Revelation 12 and 13. That's when the mark is implemented.
Okay. So Christian, from a pre-trib perspective, we'd be gone.
Yes.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
And even from a mid-trib perspective, we would be gone.
We would be gone. Okay. Yeah, because it's good to think about these things and talk about it, because I would venture to say, like, historically, Christians haven't really been good at anticipating the nonstop growth and advancement of technology. And now it's all culminating in AI. And you've got, again, people like Joe Rogan and other really mainstream popular folk that are asking for AI to start governing humans. And so what would be the logical understanding or interpretation where AI is incorporated into end times and eschatology? What kind of role do you think AI could play in end times?
Oh, man, that's a great discussion. What we're seeing now is there's several categories, but it's pretty much unlimited. But one of the main things that we're seeing, I would say, is surveillance as well as data management. Because right now, the ability to, like biometrics is an example, that's going to be huge. That there's only a certain amount of limit. But with the advancement of AI and implementing some of the procedures that they desire in order to surveil, it's going to be incredible. Again, what does AI do? I mean, that might be artificial intelligence. It operates on three things. One is data. If it doesn't have data, then it's worthless. Data comes through a variety of things. It certainly can be visual, or it could be programs, or it could be just other data that we would know, digital data. But the second thing is it has to have computing power, because you could have, if you have too much data and you don't have the computing power, well, then you're not going to be able to crunch it. You need crunching power, which again helps us understand maybe the future of quantum computing. That's a whole nother layer. But the third thing is it's what artificial intelligence does is it follows a specific pre-programmed set of parameters. It'll tell you, look for this, look for patterns A, B, C, and D. So as we see that, if you have surveillance, man, the ability for them to implement some of these things as it relates to digital ID, and also the ability to be creative, that's what I see mostly. We know that AI, we understand AI, with on the phone, we're getting a non-human agent, etc. Or even AI relates to driving, other things. But the ability for them to manage and to create things, I think also, as we watch the ability of AI, we're entering into the world of deepfakes, which are so real. Lately, this whole thing, like with Taylor Swift, and they took her face, and I'm not recommending to see it, but I'm just saying that here it was that you had this happen. And I've seen some tremendous pictures or articles. You can have AI write things for you. When people send me stuff, my first response is, well, how do I know it's true? I sadly, and even, look, we could go out, any of us, we could go out and get a picture, a video of an alien craft, and nobody would believe it. Because they'd be like, oh, it's AI created.
That's fake.
It's fake. So this brings us again to Jesus's comment, ultimately, let no one deceive you, because why? What is truth? What is truth? That's really, really scary. And AI, no doubt, is going to contribute to that.
Yeah.
So it will
Great point.
definitely contribute technologically to the system, right? Even little things that you buy at your house, like I've got these little automated switches that go onto my plugs and they turn things on and off, and they're all connected to Wi-Fi and they're all programmed. They have speakers in them. There's no need for a speaker in them, but what I found is that that they record while they're plugged in. Okay, your TVs have microphones that record. Your fridge, your washing machine, your dishwasher, everything's got a microphone that's recording at all times. Your Alexa, your Roomba, everything. Your Ring doorbell now has a camera. My pet feeder has a camera. Everything has cameras and microphones. These are the eyes and ears of the AI system that is going to be implemented globally.
Ben, can I say something? You give me such a hard time for my Alexa, and you just listed a bunch of stuff. Yeah, right.
Unplug them. Don't listen to him, Mondo. And okay, so these are the eyes and ears of the AI system. We're giving it access to our homes, to our speech, to everything we do, right? But do you think that there is is there room biblically to expect AI to actually be the beast or the Antichrist?
God, that's a great question. I think that there has been a lot of fear as well as speculation about AI becoming sentient, right?
Correct.
And the reason why is, I think from a technological perspective, I would be very reluctant because, again, even though it's very smart, again, it's learned behavior that is all programmed. I think the outlier, though, is in Revelation 13, we have this very unique comment that we know that God is the only one that has the power to give life. However, during the tribulation period and during that time, we know from 2 Thessalonians 2 that Satan is given authority to come with all power, signs, and lying wonders. So it's not that he is of it himself. I do think I'm very confident in understanding Revelation 13 that the Antichrist does actually die and come back to life. I think he's resurrected.
Doesn't it say the image of the beast?
Well, that's the second thing. You have the Antichrist who had the mortal wound that was healed. So that's a separate issue where the person is the mortal wound that comes back to life. So I think that God allows that kind of as a as a lying copycat resurrection of the Antichrist. But then later it says that he was given power to give life to the image of the beast.
Oh, so those are two separate events?
Those are two separate things.
Okay.
So that I find, that sounds like, so you have this separate image. That's not the beast. That's not the person. It's not the human that is being given life. Now, that sounds like sentience to me in modern language. So, but I do think that, I don't think that it'll arrive on its own. I think that it's going to get there. And then at the time, the Antichrist as well as the dragon will be given the authority and ability, again, because of God's purpose, to allow them to do it. They don't have it inherently, but he'll allow them to do it. And that is where I think this idea of all these fears of AI, I think that's where it's rooted from, is people see Revelation 13 that the image is talking and speaking and blah, blah, blah. Could that be the fulfillment? I think it's very likely.
Yeah, because you have people currently begging for AI to take over governance of human affairs.
Yep.
Begging. So if at some point this thing becomes sentient and begins to tell people, stop doing this, start doing this, build this, make this, here are some inventions I created via the factory I took over through Wi-Fi, right? From John's perspective, seeing this 2,000 years ago in a vision, right? If he sees this thing and he's like, oh, this thing's doing miracles, You know, I could see it might be a weird perspective I have, where I think John in Revelation is describing things he was seeing visually in a vision and using the best words that he could to describe them. But he might have been describing things that today we modern humans would call a cell phone. But he calls this the image of the beast. You know what I mean? Is that strange to do, or a weird way to look at things? Because I do it a lot.
No, I think it's very logical thinking, in that, you know, when any of the Old Testament prophets, or even any prophet of ancient times, is getting a vision of seeing something in the future, I mean, we understand the limits of language. I mean, there's only,
right,
6,000 words in 7,000 words in the Hebrew Bible. I mean, different words, or even in Greek. So the limited language is certainly there. But you also just have the concepts of thinking about a something flying, or any of these other. I mean, he's doing the best he can as it relates to the buying and selling and cashlessness.
Right.
He's not using the word cashless. He's just saying, well, I noticed that there was the mark. Well, what is that mark? What did he see? I mean, we don't know. Is it internal? The Greek word has the idea of something being inscribed on you, like an incision. DNA. But, I mean, he's doing the best he can. So I think what you said is exactly right.
Okay, so it's not wrong to try to modernize, like, the concepts that are being described in visions?
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. I would say no, because, for example, one of the other things about the end of the age is the whole Gog-Magog war, this coming war where Russia, Turkey, and Iran attack Israel. Well, if you look at the language of Ezekiel, he's writing in 600 BC. He's talking about horses, and he's talking about,
right.
So clearly they're not going to be, people try to be over literal. Nope. They're coming on horses. He's doing the best he can. He's seeing these things. And what the word horse, sos in Greek, or rekev, the other Hebrew word, in Hebrew, it's the idea of a transportation system. Well, we have broad categories. So a transportation system could be a horse, could be a bike, it could be a car, could be a tank. I mean, there's a variety of ways. So what he's describing is he's using a word that is describing a transportation system, which it just happened to be in that age when you translate it. Well, that's the word they used for horse. It makes perfect sense.
What else is he going to say? He can't describe helicopter, tank, phone, AI. He can't use those words. Those words didn't exist. Those concepts didn't exist. So he says, it looked like such and such. Yep. It was as if it had such and such, right? He's just trying to use his words and the concepts they had 2,000 years ago to describe something that he's seeing from the future. The same reason, I think, when he's talking about unclean spirits like frogs, he's not describing frogs that are hopping and they're spiritual, right? He's describing something demonic and evil that was, the best word we got is reptilian, right? And that's going around these days. In this same vein, a fun fact I learned, I want to say maybe 2-3 years ago, Dennis, when we first started talking about this this fringe stuff, right? A fun fact is that in Revelation 21, it talks about the New Jerusalem coming down from heaven, God's house, his abode, his residence, okay? And it says that it's a 1,400 mile wide and mile high cube, or possibly pyramid, because both a pyramid and a cube both have the same base, width, and height. Is it crazy to take that literally and think that God's house is literally going to descend onto the new heaven and reside? Onto the new earth and reside over Jerusalem